Man, that would have been epic. Woo! But nope. Disney could not handle not being able to sell Baby Yoda toys for a couple months. Alright, episode 8 is here, and it is truly hard to believe that season 3 of The Mandalorian is already over. As you can see behind me, I got all my nerd stuff out. I was ready to go, but unfortunately, I think I spent more time getting ready for Mandalorian season 3 than Disney did. It is painfully obvious that the Emperor herself, the evil Darth Kennedy, had her hands all over this show.
No.
The catastrophic mistake of putting 2 Mandalorian episodes into Boba Fett came back to haunt this season. Just think about how epic this season would have been if those episodes started. We didn't know the fate of Grogu yet. We had to wait 2 years of Grogu being with Luke to learn whether or not he was ever going to come back. And then at the very end, this is a spoiler review, by the way. You shouldn't watch this if you haven't watched the show yet. And then at the end, Grogu comes to save Mando in that fight I just watched. When he hasn't been in most of the show, I mean, you could have him come back in episode 7 and then go into fight mode, and he's using the Force, and he's showing all the new abilities that he learned training with Luke for 2 years. Man, that would have been epic. Woo! But nope. Disney could not handle not being able to sell Baby Yoda toys for a couple months. They had him bring them back immediately. Now, I'm not down on this season. It's no Boba Fett. It didn't do the canon damage that Obi-Wan did. It's just mid. There was some cool stuff. A lot of fluff. A lot of stuff that didn't matter. Again, just replace the fluff and bring in the 2 Mandalorian Boba Fett episodes instead, and you have a much better show, plain and simple. And Jon Favreau knew that. Kathleen had her hands all over this, there's no doubt. The reports are out there. And after the Boba Fett fumble, the other thing that plagued this season is the show just could not decide what it was about. We had so many different storylines. We had the storyline of recapturing Mandalore. We had the storyline of Bo-Katan Kryze becoming the leader of the Mandalorians again. We had the storyline of the masked Mandalorians versus the unmasked Mandalorians. We had the storyline of the continued adventures of Din and Grogu. And then we had the random episode about the old Empire employees that are being repurposed into New Republic employees. It was just way too much going on. The basis of why we love this show so much is it was a clear-cut Western in space, new adventure every week between 2 characters and a bunch of other side characters that we grew to love. And this season, they really veered off that path. There were so much different things happening that I had nothing to attach myself to. I really didn't feel an emotion watching this season until episode 8. When I saw how much Grogu wanted to save Din and how he was willing to sacrifice himself to do that. Obviously, we all knew he wasn't going to die, but with the yes and the no when Din was about to get capped, that I felt because we have history with those 2 characters. We know their relationship, and as that show goes on, Grogu just has more and more personality. But other than that, it was just so all over the place. I couldn't build a connection with really any of it. And this season was also plagued by just a lot of stupid stuff. Like, why are the Mandalorians so dumb? They were getting played by that dragon on that planet, and they just kept letting it happen. They're like, oh, it's happened again. Another youngling's gone. It's like, what? You guys haven't figured this out yet? You're like elite killers. And then behind the scenes stupidity, I know there's reportedly at least a lot of drama with Pedro Pascal in season 3. Apparently, he wasn't really in the suit at all, at least from what I've read. He really only came in to do the voiceover. And his number one problem stems from season 2, where he doesn't have any FaceTime. Well, the whole point of this season was the Mandalorian culture doesn't have to be strict anymore. Bo-Katan's got her helmet on, off, on, off. Why can't Pedro just take his helmet off? I was legitimately shocked that didn't happen. I just kept waiting. Okay, this is how they're gonna get him to come back to do more seasons. I almost thought they purposely put that into the storyline to create an excuse to be able to show Pedro's face more. And it never happened. Oh my god. I can only assume that in season 4 and in the subsequent movie that was announced a few weeks ago, that will be explored more so that they can keep Pedro doing the character. Or he'll really just get paid millions to do voiceover, which, if that's the case, man, good for him. A lot of cheesy dialogue in this season, a lot of subpar acting. I just felt like a lot of people either weren't comfortable in their roles, or at this point, we've been making this show for years now. I mean, it's hard to believe season 1 of this show started before Rise of Skywalker came out. I completely forgot about that until a few weeks ago. So this show has been in our lives since 2019. Yeah. Fall of 2019, which is just wild. It doesn't feel like that long. Maybe a lot of the actors and producers, they're just, they're kind of over it. Which is what happens, and that's why I'm always a proponent of ending a show too early versus too late. It would have sucked, but at the same time, I 100% would have been fine with this show ending with Luke finding Grogu, because that was the point of the show. The whole point of the show was bringing Grogu back to his people. What an epic ending. Of course, Disney was not going to let that happen. We all knew he'd be back eventually. We just didn't know they'd fumble the bag to the point where they brought him back immediately, and thus there was no hype to see what happened or what his future would be. And at the end, we had Moff Gideon again. Like, really? We had to use the same villain for 3 seasons in this show? Like, he kind of had his ending. Like, his ending in season 2 was perfect. And now he's back again. They were obviously going to beat him. He wasn't going to win those fights, I was over that whole storyline. I definitely eye rolled when he was brought back as the main villain at the end. And the Empire remnants had this huge secret base on Mandalore that no one knew about. I mean, give me a break. This season reeked of the Disney movies. Poorly written, poorly planned. And you could tell not everyone had their hearts in it. Now, all that being said, there were, of course, things that I did like in this season. I don't want to come off as too negative. It's just, for me, season 2 was a legitimate A-quality show. So to bring it down to the grade I had this season at, there were a lot of things that happened to bring that grade down. My favorite parts, pretty much anything between Din and Grogu. I mean, that's who we care about. Their relationship continued to grow. We saw Grogu age, become a little more mature, hone his powers a little bit more. And then, even though it was really random, I actually didn't mind the episode that was on Coruscant. I actually find that stuff interesting. It had Andor vibes. I'm not sure if that's going to play into Ahsoka. I don't think there's a New Republic Rangers or whatever show anymore. I could be wrong. It's hard to keep track with all the cancellations and announcements we get from this leadership under Empress Kennedy.
No.
But yeah, man, if you just take some of that stuff I said, this season definitely would have been better. I gotta be honest, a big part of it was the focus on the Mandalorians taking back Mandalore, and they just never really made me care about that. So those episodes and portions were kind of a drag, I'm not gonna lie. I think if they focus more on Grogu coming back from Luke and Din just becoming kind of his own man, and the Mandalorians changing their culture, maybe another episode to see what's going on at Coruscant with the remnants of the Empire rising, take Moff Gideon out, come up with something else. I think this season could have been in the B range. Unfortunately, I gotta give this season a C-. Not quite a D. A D I wouldn't have enjoyed watching. Boba Fett was definitely in that range. This was just continuous mid with... I didn't particularly catch when that happened again this time, so I'm just going to keep going. But just, continuous mid with... I can't even say there are really any really high points. Some above average points with below average and kind of dumb points on the other side to give me the C-. But in positive news, I do think season 4 will be better. One, I think they'll explore Pedro Pascal being able to take off his mask because of what they set up in this season. And he might be more into the role again. Two, from what they teased at the end of the season, it seems like we're really getting back to the roots of the adventures of Din and Grogu. I assume season 4 will be it, and then that'll lead into the Dave Filoni movie, which will also have to do with what happens in Ahsoka. And they said they'll wrap up Boba Fett too. I assume that just means that he'll have some cameos in Mandalorian season 4. At least I'm praying that's all that happened, because when he was a side character in the earlier Mandalorian seasons, that's when he was good. And we all know what happened with that show. It's whatever. If you really enjoyed the season, I'm legitimately happy for you. I wish I did as well, but I think I laid out a lot of reasons just to prove why it wasn't for me. And on the other side, I'm sure there's some of you that might give this thing a straight F, that Thor Love and Trash treatment. But for me, it wasn't quite there. It was just mid. I think there's parts of it that I could rewatch and enjoy to complete the whole story. But to be honest, if there is a complete story, a lot of this I'd probably skip. So a little disappointed because we did wait 2 years. But I think season 4 will be better, and I think Ahsoka will be really good. And what happens in that show will play into what happens in the future Mandalorian shows and movie. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me. I know it went a little long, but I really love Star Wars, even though Disney makes it really hard to do so. I'm passionate about this stuff, and I can go on for hours. Luckily, we're still in the minutes range. So thanks again for joining me. Definitely let me know in the comments what you guys thought. I love interacting with fans about this stuff. Give me that like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time. Peace.